All right. Good morning, everybody. I'm Bert Jackson, CEO of the Cape Cod Technology Council. Welcome to our coffee Q&A with Lindsay and Briana at the Cape Lake Compact. Looking forward to that today. I just want to give you a brief update of some of the upcoming events that we have. And actually, next week, we don't have a coffee Q&A because it's the Net Zero Conference put on by the Cape Cod Climate Change Collaborative. The Tech Council is a partner in that. And actually, Lindsay and I are both on the planning team for Net Zero. So it's going to be a great conference. There's 30 sessions over about a 5-hour period on Friday. It's all online, so you can enjoy it from the comfort of your home. It's a wonderful app called Hoover that we're using. When you can register you can go to the Cape Cod Technology website, and there's a link to the event there. And it's free, so we've had some great sponsors, so there's no reason not to do it. Lots of great information about net zero, both from a policy standpoint, some practical standpoint for businesses, and also on the environmental side as well. So I hope you'll avail of yourselves of that. Um, We've also, the following week, we've got Amanda Kaiser from E4All is our coffee Q&A guest. And then the following week after that is our first Friday for November, and we have Dr. John Cox and Dean Compton speaking about the new science center that they're going to be building there, as well as some other tech-related things at the Cape Cod Community College. So lots of good things coming up. Hope you'll enjoy those, and you can register for those events at cctechcouncil.org. So with that, I am going to turn it over to our moderator today, Robin Orbison, chair of our program committee and CEO of Cape Space. So Robin, take it away.
All right. Thank you, Bert. Did you already do the recording?
Yes, we're recording.
Okay, great. All right. Good morning, everyone. And we are always delighted to welcome our friends from Cape Lake Compact. And this morning we have two experts on energy efficiency with us. We have Briana Kane, who is a expert in residential energy efficiency, and we have Lindsay Henderson, who is on the commercial side. So we're going to have kind of a three-part conversation this morning. We're going to talk a little bit about Briana and residential, then we're going to jump over and talk a little bit about commercial with Lindsay, and then we'll have a panel discussion on some broader topics. So with that, good morning. Good morning, ladies. Good morning, Briana. Good morning, Lindsay.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Great to see you here. So let's just start, let's just jump right in. So Briana, so why don't you tell us a little bit about your background and how you came to be an energy efficiency expert?
Sure thing. An expert, I have wonderful support from all of the CLC staff and our vendors, so I'm not necessarily an expert in everything, but do try to be well-rounded in all things energy efficiency. So I have been with the Compact since 2008. I started in as a residential program planner, moved around a little bit in everything from our commercial programs at the Compact to our evaluation, which actually looks at the effectiveness of our programs, and back into the residential world. My background is in environmental economics and a minor in forestry from UMass Amherst. I graduated there in 2000, so I've always had an interest in conservation. I had a particular interest early on in water and sewage management. I started down here on the Cape as an intern for the Chatham Police Department doing their shorebird monitoring and beach patrol for 2 summers. And then I stayed down here permanently. And it is a wonderful area, and we have wonderful offerings for Cape Cod and Vineyard customers.
Well, that is a perfect segue, because my next question is going to be about what those offerings are. I will make a comment, though, on your modesty about being an expert. I was on one of these sessions with a PR expert a few months ago, and he said that you should define yourself as an expert, meaning you know more than the people that you're talking to. So you are absolutely the expert here. as I'm sure you are in many more circles than you're letting on. Okay, so I think a lot of people on, actually, Bert, are we able to run a poll, an audience poll? Bert, you're muted.
We might be able to do it in chat.
No, okay, that's okay. If everybody could just jump on the chat, I'd like to know how many people have had a home energy efficiency assessment from Cape Light Compact. And while people are responding to that, Briana, give us a little overview of your standard offerings, and we're going to ask you to talk a little bit about what you have changed in your offerings as a result of the pandemic.
Absolutely. We have programs, whether you rent or own, and that kind of relates to our home energy assessment that you referenced. We also have income eligible programs that are very robust in the incentives that we can offer customers, as well as a retail effort that targets lighting and appliances. So we have a really broad way for people to participate in the Cape Light Compact's energy efficiency programs. You know, the biggest one, the flagship, is the home energy assessment. So whether you rent or own, if you have an apartment style rental, if you are renting a condo, a single family, or if you own any of those types of properties, we can come in and make recommendations on ways for you to consider being more energy efficient. As I like to tell people, the most that you have to put out is a couple hours of your time if you're participating in that program. And I think the least that you get away from it is just some general education about your home and how you use some of the areas in your home. Then that option is really up to you as to how you wish to proceed down kind of the path that we try to lay out to our customers for ways to get energy efficiency measures installed in their home. So air sealing, insulation, after the fact, efficient lighting, advanced power strips during the assessment can be addressed. And then, you know, working with each individual customer, you have different questions that come up based upon your home. How are my appliances? In the home energy assessment, auditing team can actually go through and discuss, you know, your questions and concerns. I have this cold area in my house. Why? Do you think that there's something that can be done? So that's the bulk of the assessment, a couple hours of your time getting information about your house and hopefully sharing tips and tricks for you to just start to be more energy efficient with some small behavioral changes.
Okay, great. Now we're getting some responses from the audience here. So everyone who's writing in is saying, yes, they've done it. And some interesting questions here. One person says they had one done 40 months ago. Somebody else says 2 years ago. Someone says they've done it twice. And someone else says, how often can you have one? So can you address that? I mean, if someone's done one and it's been a couple of years, is there an advantage to them doing it again?
So the answer is it depends. To roll back, if a customer calls, they can have an energy assessment essentially every year, every 2 years. You have to ask yourself what the need is truly to continue to have repeated energy assessments. Our goal is that you have the energy assessment and that you actually move forward with the recommended measures, the insulation, the air sealing, and the lighting. So if you had an audit 3 years ago and you did all of the recommendations from what I just listed there, there might not be a need for you to have another assessment. But if you're interested, if there is something that you think has changed in your home, like you added an addition, absolutely, it might make sense to have another assessment. If it's been a very long time, like 10 years, and you did work, well, that's also a different story because some of our parameters have changed. So we might be able to add another layer of insulation.
Somebody's pet has some opinions on this.
There's a rumbly car that drove by. That was very upsetting. Sorry. So That would depend. So if you had the assessment 10 years ago, sure, it might absolutely make sense. We now have LEDs that are out in the market that we could install if you had any inefficient lighting. We used to have a cap on the lighting a number of years ago where we could only install maybe 20 bulbs per home. So we have evolved. But if you've taken advantage of the program very recently, you still can call, but there might not be a need. If there's something particular, like sometimes people have an assessment, they do all the work, but now they need a heating system, they need new heat loan paperwork. We can help facilitate you getting the heat loan paperwork to save you time, as well, if it's just that piece that you need or are interested in. So we can work with you. It's just good to call and have a conversation about that.
And is it correct that you have some new programs as a result of as a response to the pandemic?
Yes, we have actually been able to pivot very quickly to offer virtual home energy assessments, virtual QA, QC, which is quality assurance and quality control checks for some of the projects being done. We have worked on getting our rebates being able to be submitted online and heat loan applications online. So we really looked at this as a way to keep energy efficiency moving forward. We did have to put a pause on our programs right after the governor's address around March 18th. And we pivoted very quickly to start offering the virtual home energy assessments in our market rate program by April 8th. So these are things that we had wanted to see advance. We were thinking that they might be something that came forward in the 2021 timeframe and definitely 2022 to 2024 planning, because we plan on a 3-year period. But this was the opportunity for us to move forward. So with people's concerns around COVID, but maybe being home more, energy usage changes. You have more computers maybe on. You had homeschooling going on. So people saw some upticks in their electric usage because they were home more. And the virtual home energy assessments essentially connected the customer with the specialist. They could use FaceTime, GoToMeeting, Teams, different ways that work for different people. And you essentially would do the home energy assessment over a screen and phone with the specialist, so they could kind of get a handle as to what you might need. They then were able to either mail, some of those instant savings measures like lighting and advanced power strips to you, or put you on the list to follow up and have those installed when we were able to resume some on-premise work. This also got them the ability to write up a proposal for customers. And during this time frame, we offered 100% of the recommended measures covered, regardless of income. And that offer went through till September 30th for all customers. And it is in the residential world continued forward for renters and landlords for the rest of the year. We're really trying to reach that group that seems to have the ability to participate, but sometimes has limitations on funds because the landlord owns the property. They might not be on Cape, but the person who lives there and is renting, paying the bill, we still wanted to provide some support services. And work resumed in the July, August timeframe with some on-premise. So now we're able to offer both the virtual home energy assessment for those that are still interested in that, and in-person home energy assessment as well is back up and running.
That's amazing. You basically accelerated something that had a 3 or 4 year plan to roll out, and you rolled it out within a matter of weeks.
Yes, and with a huge amount of support from our vendors in the programs, from the other program administrators in the Commonwealth, really worked together long hours to get this moving forward. And in the commercial industrial program, I know Lindsay will speak to that, also has some of these really great offerings too.
Great. We're going to move on to that in just a sec. One last question. So if you could throw out your top 3 pieces of advice for residential energy consumers, what would they be?
Sure. So my first piece of advice is whether you move into a new rental or you're buying a new home, make one area in that rental or in that home your space, right? And then tackle all of the projects that you want to do. And by that, work on the guts of your home first. Insulation, air sealing, you don't see those, but they have wonderful benefits from comfort and energy savings that can be provided. So while you can't see those necessarily, it's not the brand new kitchen. Work on, like everyone kind of should, work on getting yourself healthy on the inside, and then everything else works forward, right? That's one recommendation that I always make when people are in major projects or in transition from rentals to owning homes. Another recommendation for me is lighting. The lighting has really advanced significantly. Gone are the days of CFLs with flicker, with burnout, with, really unpleasant light that people often commented on. Primarily, the number one comment was, it takes too long to turn on. Make sure that if you haven't had an energy assessment and you still have energy efficient bulbs in your home, sign up and we can come in and install LEDs for you. That is huge. The quality of light, the quickness in which they come on, in the range of bulbs that we are able to offer is a really great way to be energy efficient in your home.
Okay, well, thank you very much. I'm getting a question here about whether or not you have any programs that help people switch to solar.
So we do not have solar switching programs currently. Mass CEC is the main area that focuses on solar in the Commonwealth, but the compact, kind of that pathway that I described with, getting your home as efficient as possible, getting the insulation, the lighting, eventually if you need to, upgrading your heating system to an efficient heating system, or considering if you have electric heat or deliverable fuels and you're looking to move forward, installing very efficient air source heat pumps, and then moving forward to solar with that. We do have a solar domestic hot water rebate. It is based upon, the incentives are based upon household size, but we are also looking at exploring things in our 22 to 24 plan that might look to help address solar, from maybe including that as part of the heat loan or other things like that. But Mass CEC would be your best source for solar incentives and rebates overall.
All right, terrific. Thank you, Briana. We're going to hop over and talk about the commercial side of things for a little bit here. So Lindsay, you've been waiting there patiently. Thank you. And welcome. So let's start off with the same question. Lindsay, just give us a little bit about your background and how you came to be an energy efficiency expert with Cape Light Compact.
Sure. So I have worked for the Compact since 2007. I actually started off as the administrative assistant and kind of worked my way into many different areas and all over the place. Like Briana mentioned, we do like to change jobs around quite a bit, but that helps us, become better as an organization, because we can go out and represent the Compact, and we know a lot of different facets and areas of the organization to be able to answer questions. So I've worked in the call center, so getting that customer experience. I've also done marketing and worked in some residential programs, and 2 years ago evolved to the position that I have now, which is managing our small business program, as well as our upstream or instant incentive programs through participating distributors. I have a bachelor's degree in business administration from Suffolk University that I got in 2005. And, initially the jobs, when I started with the Compact, it started off basically as a job, administrative assistant, but just working with everybody, the staff, and just learning the industry. I got more excited about it, and just kind of, as time went on, just evolved into other roles and different interests in the energy efficiency world. So that's kind of where I've landed today.
Well, that's a great way to develop a career. You've kind of seen everything in the organization. So that's a great story. So all right, so let's talk a little bit about commercial. So on the commercial side, I think a lot of businesses don't own the real estate that they're occupying, and so as Briana was talking about, really trying to reach the renters. I'm sure that's an issue on the commercial side as well. But if you can give us kind of an overview of the commercial program, and with some emphasis on the renters, that would be great.
Sure. So similar to residential, kind of our core offering on the commercial side would be the energy assessment. So we have energy specialists that will go into the facility and do a comprehensive assessment. So they're looking at everything from lighting to water saving devices, if there's refrigeration, thermostats, insulation. So really try to look comprehensively to see how we can make improvements to the building, any mechanicals or HVAC related stuff as well. It is definitely a challenge with the renters, because in a lot of cases, they're not responsible for the mechanicals. So that does tend to be a barrier for us, and need to work with the property owners more closely and build those relationships with the property owners. But renters definitely can still have the assessment, and we can do more of the stuff inside, their store or their restaurant directly. So you're looking at your lighting, you're looking at any refrigeration controls, faucet aerators, and thermostats more in the building, and then more of the larger mechanical stuff, then we would need to get involved with the property owners.
And have you seen much success with that? So, I have a business, I'm a renter, for example, and you guys did a great assessment for me, and we made a lot of changes. But, if an assessment, if you had recommended, well, it wasn't the issue for me, but if you had, for example, said, you need more insulation, so that becomes a building envelope thing that really has to go to the landlord. Have you seen success with teaming up with the tenant, and you and the tenant going to the landlord and, trying to get the landlord on board with the changes?
I think it really depends on the situation. And I'm sure, as a lot of folks, know, the relationships with the landlords and property owners tends to be different depending on the situation.
Sure.
So some tenants have really great relationships with their landlords, and so it's a much easier conversation to have. And to get those improvements to move forward. Some relationships are very tense. So those tend to be a little bit of a barrier and a challenge to kind of move forward with those larger items that could be upgraded.
Okay. And so what changes have you implemented on the commercial side as a result of the shutdown back in the spring and the continued saga of COVID?
Yeah, it doesn't seem to end, does it? So one of our biggest changes, and as folks know, businesses were essentially shut down for many months. So it was a challenge for us to be able to engage businesses during this period. It's almost like the opposite situation that Briana had. Everybody's at home, we could get a hold of people. People are focusing on stuff because either they're furloughed or they're home with their kids. Whereas the businesses were closed. So we had a real challenge trying to get a hold of people or promote, any offerings that we had until essentially businesses started to open up. But what we have done, and we've actually continued, just extended this through June of next year, is we are offering up to 100% incentive for any recommended improvements through an energy assessment. So we're very pleased to be able to offer that. Our normal incentive is up to 80%, but recognizing that business owners are having obviously a very difficult time right now with financials and just everything else that they have to deal with during this time, to be able to increase the incentives to 100% was kind of our way of being able to help people install energy efficient equipment that might not have been thinking about it before, and then would help reduce their energy costs, which ultimately helps their finances at the end of the day.
And I would think that the one thing that a lot of business owners have had is time to focus on these kind of things, right?
Yeah. So what we had done, when we were having some challenges reaching people to sign up for new assessments or a virtual type assessment, we were going back to some of the contracts and proposals that were made over the last year or so that maybe didn't move forward because they weren't able to come up with the copay. So that's kind of what a lot of our vendors' focus was, during that 2 or 3 month period, was reaching out to those people who hadn't moved forward and said, hey, the compact's now offering up to 100%. We can now do this at no cost. So that we were able to build up sort of a backlog so that when any of the restrictions were lifted, when we were able to get back on site mid-June, we were able to hit the ground running and be able to, start getting these installed for people who may not have moved forward previously to this.
Terrific. And that 100%, Lindsay, applies to renters and property owners. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So there's never been a better time for businesses to call Cape Light Compact. Lindsay, what are your top pieces of advice for anybody who is running a business today?
Well, I would just say, if they haven't had an energy assessment, that is really the number one place to start. Similar to the lighting comment that Briana made about, lighting can really make a big difference, as well as everything else. Believe it or not, you can improve your workspace. You can improve your employees' productivity. You can improve customers' experience within, your store or offices by improving some simple things like lighting or, any controls and stuff like that. So it just, starting off with that energy assessment is really, the first thing. Energy tips. So we have on our website, we have some energy tips for businesses. So, a lot of folks have programmable thermostats or Wi-Fi thermostats, making sure that those are set properly. If, when you close at night, the thermostat goes down. So that will just help save energy at the end of the day. And then we also have instant incentives available from participating distributors for HVAC systems, for lighting, if you have your own contractor, as well as food service equipment. So, if something breaks or, you need to replace something, think of us first because we might be able to help you and contact us to see what might be available, because ultimately at the end of the day, residents and businesses, these programs are all funded by the community on everybody's electric and natural gas bills. So take advantage of these programs because we're reinvesting the money that's received back into the community.
And that is a great piece of advice. Think of Cape Light Compact first. I think a lot of times we, especially business owners, we get caught up in things and we've got issues and we don't realize it's not top of mind that there are some really great resources for us here on the Cape. So Cape Light Compact is one of those. All right, so we're going to move on, talk about a few more things here. I don't know if either of you can address this, but I'm going to ask the question anyway. I've been trying to coin the phrase that indoor air quality is the new face mask. So we're starting to. Indoor air quality is one of the least talked about COVID measures out there, or at least was in the beginning, but it's starting to gain a lot of traction. And just wondering if you are, if the Cape Light Compact is looking at all at indoor air quality programs, or how you might intersect with any other programs that are happening in the state around this issue.
Yeah, so I do have a little bit of information. While I'm not the one directly at the Compact working on this on a statewide thing, Margaret Son did provide me with some talking points that I could share with folks on this. Obviously, we do advocate for energy efficiency, but at the end of the day, health and safety does come first. So we have been working with a lot of the other statewide program administrators to come up with some recommendations for businesses. There's some organizations that are a good resource as well, and that are also making recommendations on indoor air quality. So ASHRAE, ASHRAE, they really are the experts in indoor air quality that the program administrators at least have been either referring to or looking to for information about this. So they have got guidelines for businesses and buildings to follow. One of the program administrators' recommendations is to use air purifiers. Look for the Energy Star label and any applicable incentives that are available for residents and businesses. Also, to kind of help, and Robin, I think, we kind of talked about this before, some of the recommendations I think that ASHRAE make, may increase your energy usage a little bit, but that's kind of where the energy efficiency component that the compact can bring can help offset that. Through making sure you have, efficient LED bulbs, getting rid of a second refrigerator that might not be used anymore, things like that might help offset kind of that energy use a little bit, so that it's not, drastically one way or the other.
If someone were to bring in ASHRAE or someone to help optimize their indoor air quality through their HVAC system, Cape Light Compact could assist with managing the conflicts between the air quality and the energy usage. Is that correct?
We could help. If there's efficient recommendations, if you still have some inefficient equipment that you're working with, we might be able to help upgrade that for you with incentives to help offset any energy use that might be realized.
Terrific, thank you. Just want to touch on, I know this isn't your area in the organization, but I know that another big thing that Cape Light Compact does is help people with power supply solutions. So are you able to just give an overview of what that is, what that entails?
Sure. I can take that unless Brianna's itching to jump in. So our power supply offering, so as folks might be familiar, you have two parts to your electric bill. You've got your distribution side, which is going to be all of your, charges for billing and the lines and the wires, and those are always going to be from Eversource. So you don't have a choice on that side of the bill, but your generation or supply side of the bill is where you have the option to select the power supplier for that piece of the bill. So the Compact's power supply program right now, we are 100% renewable. We match everybody's usage 100% with the use of renewable energy certificates. So essentially it's certificates that have come from renewable energy sources like wind and solar that have been essentially retired. And then we also have a new CLC green option that uses more local sources for those renewable energy certificates. So you would just pay a little bit of an extra premium on your bills every month, but you're supporting the local green economy.
Great, thank you. Okay, so before we open this up to questions from the audience, are there any other offerings or programs at Cape Light Compact that we haven't covered that you would like people to know about?
No, in all honesty, the residential and commercial energy efficiency programs and power supply are our core offerings. Additionally, from a consumer advocacy piece, the Compact works very hard to represent the customers on Cape Cod and Martha's Vineyard at the State House with also local efforts. And we really work to make sure that what customers pay into the program stays on the Cape and Vineyard.
That's interesting what you just said, the Cape and Martha's Vineyard. So Nantucket is not part of your realm?
Correct. Nantucket did not join into the joint powers entity when they were formed, or looking, well, prior to joint powers entity, as part of the municipal aggregation offering in 1997.
Okay, well, I did not know that. All right, well, thank you both very much. All right, so at this point, we would love to take questions. And if you have a question, just drop it in the chat. And actually, I see one here from Mark that I'm having a little trouble actually understanding the question. So I'm going to ask Mark to unmute and speak your question, please.
A while back, there was a smart metering thing on the Cape, just as like a pilot project where you could see how much electricity you were using live. Do you guys still have a program for that, or know of one?
Fortunately, that program offering did come to an end. It was not cost effective, and that's a whole other day of conversation on how we look at residential offerings. But no, that is no longer available.
But there's nothing inside the house or anything like that to replace it?
Unfortunately, no.
Okay, so Kristen has a friend who just bought a house and wants to know what kind of wait times you're currently experiencing between for somebody to schedule a home assessment.
Sure. So we actually have gotten quite a bit of volume since the 100% offering, and that's why we did pause that enhanced incentive, because it was a kind of kicker to get people signed up by September 30th, but did extend it for renters and landlords. We are about 3 weeks out from when you call in to when we might be able to get out, but if it really does depend on location, but 3 to 4 weeks.
And what's the wait time for commercial, Lindsay?
It's about the same.
Okay. All right. So Spiro has a question, and I only have the subject of the question, not the actual question. So Spiro, can you unmute and tell us your question, please? Spiro, you're still muted.
Yep, here we go. Hi, guys. I recently took a much closer look at my home energy report from NGrid, which I'm beginning to think is more of an energy shaming report. Wondering how accurate you think it is, given the fact that most of my neighbors are seasonal residents. Is their comparisons still valid?
So unfortunately, I can't speak for how National Grid has set up their algorithms, but the compact also does offer the same home energy report. It's from our vendor called OPower. The compact works very closely with our vendor, yet there are still hiccups with how the calculations do come out with the information that we have. So as everyone knows, as an economist, I can make data kind of say whatever I want it to say, depending upon how I look at things. This is slightly different though. We do not have enough robust data to truly do really apples to apples comparisons. We're still talking about comparing fruit, quite frankly, but it's definitely not as accurate as it could be. So we get a lot of third-party data, the vendor that we use. It could be assessor's data. It could be census data. It could be data directly from the town's building department, let's say. But case in point, I have a home that has gone through 2 conversions, from electric to oil, oil to natural gas. When I bought the home, I converted to natural gas. I am still noted as an electric heat customer. What do you do with that if that's the data that pulls in? So household square foot size, a lot of those data points are missing. So you could be compared to some very small houses. In the compact program, we tried very hard to shake out the seasonal aspect of that. But that's very difficult to do based upon rate codes. There are seasonal rate codes, but the customer has to indicate that they are on a seasonal rate code, meaning that they turn their systems on and off. If not, they're just on a residential rate code. And with many second homeowners, they just keep their electric account active year round, or their gas account active year round. So take a look at it on a therm perspective. I don't have the exact points from your electric usage. On average, everything shakes out in the world to about 580 kWh a month. That's an average number for all of the customers that we look at. So if you are under, for your residential account, under 580, you're doing really well. Again, it all depends upon the size of your home, how you use your home. You know, we had a bunch of seasonal customers actually show up and stay longer this year. But there were also a huge amount of seasonal customers that did not come because of the COVID impacts. If you have a lot of showers taking place and you have, you know, a gas system in your home and that's kicking on to do that. So it's so very hard to say exactly where you shake out on a report, whether it's the electric or gas, but you can, at least on the gas side as well as the electric side, the gas, you can actually log on to the account in that note and edit your information. So hopefully you'd start to get a truer comparison. If there's any missing data points, you can call the Compact's 800 number and they can take care of that for you. But I kind of look at this as a really great marketing opportunity to get people to kind of look at this. But it is not as accurate as our prior behavior programs that we've just spoken about, where we actually were able to kind of meter your use and give you real-time usage, unfortunately.
Great, thanks, Anna.
Okay, that was an extremely thorough answer. Thank you, Briana. Okay, so I'm not seeing any more questions coming in just now. Bert, I think this would be a good time to put up that slide that we have. So we have a slide here that has some resources on it that we can certainly share with you if you email us after, but we're going to put it up so you can see some of the resources that are available to us here in the Commonwealth. And while we do that, and I'm going to wait and see if any other questions come in, but I'm going to wrap up here with some nice, easy questions for you. So, so you both, I mean, this strikes me as like you have like the best jobs in the world, right? You get to help people, you get to help the environment, you get to be, you know, learn new things every day. And so my question is probably going to be hard for you to answer, but what do you like best about your work? Briana, you want to go first?
Sure. I really like the interactions that we have with customers. I really am very happy helping a customer solve a problem that they have. And it can be anything from, hey, I had a product installed and I burnt out this light bulb, and what do I do now because I can't find this bulb anymore, to, hey, I'm really struggling with this heating system and need some assistance. What can you suggest that I do? How can I get connected with, you know, good vendors to consider doing work in my home? So I really enjoy the customer aspect of our work, and knowing that, you know, for the Cape, the Vineyard, you know, we are really a critical area with our conservation needs, our water needs. It's such a broad picture, and energy efficiency really allows us to go and try to work with customers and offer the generous incentives that we do to kind of help just the environment overall.
So that's interesting. So with your background in economics and data analysis, the part that you enjoy the most is the customer interaction, the personal interaction.
I do. Yep, it's been very rewarding.
That's great. How about you, Lindsay? What's your favorite part?
I like helping people. I like, you know, on the business side of things, it's grown my knowledge about the industry, and I love walking into spaces and knowing that we were able to help these business owners or tenants or whoever it may be, you know, reduce their energy and save on their bills. You know, and similar to Briana, just that customer interaction, you know, we're local, you know, which I think is, I don't want to say unique and special compared to the rest of the state, but you can call us up and we actually answer the phones. we're a local resource. Many of us live in this community. So it's very important to us to keep it going and have it sustained for a long time.
Okay, well, let's see, that is great. And looks like we got just a couple more questions coming in. Angela. Angela, do you want to unmute yourself and ask your question?
I
Hi,
do.
Angela.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Hi, how are you, Lindsay? Hi, Briana. How are
Hello.
you? Any chance to hear the Cape Light Gals talk, I'm in, because, it's kind of funny listening to what you both said about the customer part being your favorite. I've worked with you both for, 8 years, off and on in different environments, and you guys have always been super excited about the customer part. Neither one of you has gone down in your enthusiasm or your ability to do your job. You guys just keep on getting better and keep on. It's like there must be something in the air there because you're just always ready to put in the work. So I appreciate that. And it's good to know personally that you guys work so hard, because sometimes it gets lost. What is Cape Light Compact, when it's just this little piece on your bill. But outside of my adoration fan club of CLC, I do have a question. And Briana, you and I kind of talked about this a little bit on a day that we were on the phone and I couldn't hear you very well. But I thought it was a question that kind of begs repeating with this particular environment, or this group, excuse me, which is, so with all of COVID, we've all moved into our home offices and we've tried to create new workspace. And my question is, and I'll just use my personal example, but it doesn't have to be that way. So Briana knows this. I have a barn on my property that definitely would love to use for home office space, but technically it's my home, it's part of my home space. I would want to use it as like a backup office. What are the requirements? So with something like that, so it's a separate space from the house, you're looking to turn it into small business space. What are the requirements that, or the differentials of when is it a home-based business, or when is it a home audit, and when is it a business audit? And or are there any like check boxes that say, well, if you have X, Y, and Z, it's business, or if you have X, Y, and Z, it's home? Does that make sense?
Yep. And I think because I do know a little bit about your project, Angela, I'm happy to start this conversation. One of the things is it will depend upon how your electric account is set up. So you have a residential account.
Yeah.
Your property is residential. That barn has a residential account.
Yeah.
That's the main or biggest difference. If you had a residential property and you had a second property with its own meter and it was commercial, then that's where it definitely is a very easy way to decide which way it's going. Additionally, depending upon the program, whether it's retrofit or new construction, that's where you're calling us and trying to get some information. It's a renovation in the way you view it as a customer, but if that space has no insulation, does not have a heating source, we run up against some issues there. So if you want to make that space commercial space, a mixed zone, whatever it may be, whatever you're looking to get out of that, since that space is space and doesn't have any of the main components that would make it a legit able to have a business or a person stay there, you have to bring it up to code. So unfortunately on that piece, you're kind of on your own with the general contractor, getting quotes, seeing what you can do. But we do have a renovation and addition program as well as a new construction program at the compact. Those are the pieces where you would work to leverage the support of getting energy efficiency in your home. So you're gonna have to do the minimum and bring that building up to code. Then if you're going further, if you're adding, rigid board or certain things like that, then we kind of can come in and essentially we're taking the baseline building situation and you're going to here or here or here, then we can work with you to determine the incentives that we can offer you. That's the biggest thing. If you had that barn on your property and it was already partially insulated or not insulated, but had a heating system is the main designation. If it had one of those, then we could likely, because it's on a residential account, deal with it through the retrofit program, which is different than your situation. But the biggest piece is whether it's on a residential account or a commercial account.
Right. Okay, so that's interesting. So, and again, like I said, I know we've talked about a little bit of this, but I thought since we're in a group of people who are working from home and there's really no end in sight to some of that continuing, is there any advantage between, actually, you know what, I'll retract that question. I was going to say the differences between the business and commercial, but that was actually covered a little bit earlier. So instead, I will say thank you very much for your answer, and thank you very much for your wonderful participation today from you both.
Thanks, Angela.
And thanks to see your faces.
Yeah, good to see you too. And I think, one of the things that I'm sure Lindsay would say as well is when you call the compact, it goes back to that point, you're calling staff in our Yarmouth office or now remote, but we are here. We are your local resource. I live on the Cape. Lindsay lives on the Cape. Our call center all live on the Cape. So when you call our call center and you have a conversation, they really do try to guide you to the right area. So case in point to that example, Angela, a little bit, a bed and breakfast. Well, that's a really hard area for other program administrators to tackle because it really doesn't fit the commercial definition, right? But that is a facility that is on a commercial account, but really acts like a home. The compact now has worked very hard to make sure that our commercial offerings are able to address those small businesses that look and act like a home that are on commercial accounts. So your bed and breakfasts, attorneys' offices that are in a lovely home on 6A. What are their opportunities? What are their needs? Smaller sized heating systems, insulation, lighting opportunities, just like any of us in the residential world. That's where the Compact's commercial program and knowing our customer base, I think does a really great job. And Lindsay, I don't know if you want to speak to a little bit more on that commercial aspect.
No, I would just say, I mean, Briana and I and other folks have just worked really hard because there are some of those gray-ish areas with some of the businesses where we've really tried to adapt to our customer base. It's not, I'll throw out, you go off Cape to some of the larger program administrator territories and it's black and white. If it's not this, we can't do it. But the compact, we are very flexible. And sometimes in a lot of cases might take a situation case by case in order to serve somebody. So I think that's one of the benefits of us. We're smaller, we're able to make those decisions, and we're able to be super flexible in order to help people.
All right. Well, thank you both very much. This is excellent information. And at this point, I am going to turn it back over to Bert to wrap us up.
Thank you, Robin. Briana, Lindsay, thank you so much. This was a fabulous conversation today. People got a lot of good information about it. If you've been following the chat, you can download the chat by clicking the little 3 dots on your chat window and do save chat so that you can access and have that information offline. And so we'll give you a moment to do that. Again, hopefully this will be up on our YouTube channel at some point in the near future. And thank you all very much for being here today. Tune in next week for the Net Zero Conference and Amanda Kaiser on the 30th and the Cape Cod Community College on the first Friday in November. So thank you all. Enjoy your day, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you again, Briana and Lindsay. That was terrific.
Thank you for
Bye-bye.
having
Have
us.
a great weekend, everyone.
Today.
Bye-bye.